Hi, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I did not make enough videos for my channel. I know if I get 1,000 subscribers, I get money for every video I have, so please subscribe. Tonight we're gonna start a new book called 4 from the library that I checked out. And I'm gonna part 1 of the chapter 1 out of I don't know how many pages are in one chapter called 4. So right now, let's get started. We're not doing the introduction, so we're not doing the introduction. And in the chapter 1, part 1, I emerged from the simulation with a yell. My lip stings, and when I take my hand away from it, there's a bloodline on my fingertips. I must have bitten it during the test. The dauntless woman administering my aptitude test, Tori, she said her name was, gives me a strange look as she pulled her black hair back and ties it in a knot. Her arms are marked up and down with ink, flames and rays of light and hawk wings. Where you were in a simulation, were you aware that it wasn't real? Tori says to me as she turns off the machine. She sounds and looks casual, but it's a studied casualness learned from years of practice. I know it when I see it. I always do. Suddenly, I'm aware of my own heartbeat. This is what my father said would happen. He told me that they would ask me if I was aware during the simulation, and he told me what to say when they did. No, I say. If I was, do you think I would have chewed through my lip? Tori studies me for a few seconds, then bites down on the ring on her lip before she said, "Congratulations. Your result was textbook abnegation." I nod, but the word abnegation feels like mouths wrapped around my throat. "Aren't you pleased?" She said. "My faction members will be." I didn't ask about them. I asked about you, Tori's mouth and eyes turned down at the corner like they bear little weights, like she'd said about something. This is a safe room. You can say whatever you want here. I knew my choices in the aptitude test would add up to before I arrived at school. This morning, I chose food over a weapon. I threw myself in the path of a dog to save the little girl. I knew that after I made those choices, the test would end and I would receive abnegation was the result. Don't know that I would have made different choices if my father hadn't coached me, hadn't controlled every part of my aptitude test from afar. So what was I expecting? What faction did I want? Any of them but abnegation. I'm pleased, I said firmly. I don't care what she says is in a safe room. There are no safe rooms, no safe truths, no safe secrets to tell. I can still feel the dog's teeth closing around my arm, tearing my skin. I nod to Tori and start toward the door, but just before I leave, her hand closed around my elbow. "You're the one who has to live with your choice," she said. "Everyone else will get over it. Move on no matter what you decide, but you never will." I open the door and walk out. I return to the cafeteria and sit down at the abnegation table. Among the people who barely know me, my father didn't permit me to come to most community events. He claimed that I'll call that disruption, that I will do something to hurt his reputation. I don't care. But I'm happier in my room, in my silent house, and surrounded by the deferential apologetic abnegation. The consequence of my constant absence, though, is that the other abnegation are wary of me, convinced there's something wrong with me, that I'm ill or immoral or strange. Even those willing to nod at me in greeting that don't quite meet my eyes. I sit on my hand, clenching my knees, watching the other tables. While the other students finish their aptitude test, the erudite table is covered in reading material, but they aren't all studying. They're just making a show of it, trading conversation instead of ideas. Their eyes snapping back to the words every time they think someone's watching them. The Candor are talking loudly as always. The Amity are laughing, smiling, pulling food from their pockets and passing it around. The Dauntless are raucous and loud, slung over the table and chairs, leaning on one another and poking one another and teasing. I wanted any other faction but mine, where everybody had already decided that I'm not worth their attention. Finally, an erudite woman enters the cafeteria and holds up a hand for silence. The abnegation erudite quiet down right away, but thinks her shouting quiet for the dauntless Amity and Candor to notice her. The aptitude tests are not finished. She said, remember that you are not permitted to discuss your result with anybody, not even your friends or family. The choosing ceremony will be tomorrow at the hub. Plan to arrive at least 10 minutes before it begins. You are dismissed. Everyone rushes toward the door except our table, where we wait for everybody else to leave before we even get to our feet. I know the path my fellow abnegation will take out of here, down the hallway and out of the front doors to the bus stop. They could be there for over an hour, letting the other people get on in front of them. I don't think I can bear any more of silence. Instead of following them, I slip out a slide door and into an alley next to a school. I've taken this route before, but usually I creep along slowly, not wanting to be seen or heard. Today, all I want to do is run. I sprint to the end of the alley and into my empty street, leaping over a sinkhole in the pavement. My loose abnegation jacket snapped in the wind, and I peel it from my shoulder, letting it trail behind me like a flag, and then letting it go. I push the sleeve of my shirt up to my elbow as I run, slowing to a jog when my body can no longer stand the sprint. It feels like the entire city is rushing past me in a blur. The buildings blending together. I hear the slap of my shoes, like the sound is separate from me. Finally, I have to stop my muscle burning. I'm in the factionless wasteland and lie between the abnegation sector and airline headquarters. Candor headquarters and are common places at every faction meeting. Our leaders, usually speaking through my father, urge us not to be afraid of the factionless, to treat them like humans beings instead of broken, lost creatures, but it never occurred to me to be afraid of them. I moved to the sidewalk so I can look through the window of the buildings. Most of the time, all I see is old furniture, every room bare, bits of trash on the floor when most of the city residents left, as they most must have, since our current population doesn't fill every building. They must not have left in a hurry, because the spaces they occupy are so clean. Nothing of interest remains. When I pass one of the buildings on the corner, though, I see something inside. The room just beyond the window is a bare and any of the others I walk by. But past the doorway inside, I can see a single ember, a lit coal. I'll frown and pause in front of the window to see if it will open. At first it won't budge, and then I wiggle it back and forth and it springs upward. I push my torso through first and then my legs, toppling to the ground inside in a heap of limbs. My elbows sting as they scrape the floor. The building smells like cooked food and smoke and sweat. I inch toward the ember, listening for voices that I will warn me of a factionless presence here. But they're only silence. In the next room, the windows are blacked out by paint and dirt, but a little daylight makes it through them, so I can see that there are curled pallets scattered on the floor, all over the room, an old can with bits of dried fruit stuck inside them. In the center of the room is a small charcoal grill. Most of the coals are white, with their fuel spent, but one is still lit, suggesting that whoever was here recently, and judging by the smell and abundance of old cans and blankets, there were quite a few of them. I was always taught by the fractionless live without community, isolated from one another. Now, looking at this place, I wonder why I ever believed it. What would be stopping them from forming groups, just like we have? It's in our nature. What are you doing here? A voice demands, and it travels through me like an electric shock. I wheeled around and see a smudge, a sallow-faced man in the next room, wiping his hand on a rag towel. I looked at the grill. I saw fire. Then all I saw, oh, the man tucked the corner of the towel into a back pocket. He wears black canter pants, patched with blue airtight fabric, and gray abnegation shirt, the same as what I'm wearing. He leaned on the rail, but he looks strong enough to hurt me. But I don't think he will. Thanks, I guess, he says. Nothing on fire here, though. I can see that, I say. What is this place? It's my house, he said with a cold smile. He missing one of his teeth. I didn't know what would be having guests, so I didn't bother to tidy up. I looked from him to the scattered cans. He must toss and turn a lot to require so many blankets. Never met a stiff who pried so much into other people's business. He said. He moved closer to me and frowned. You look a little familiar. I know I can't have met him before, but not where I live, surrounded by identical houses in the most monotonous neighborhood in the city, surrounded by people in identical gray clothing with identical short hair. It occurs to me to him and my father tried to keep me. He's still the leader of a council and one of the most prominent people in our city. I still resemble him. I'm sorry to have bothered you, I say in my best abnegation voice. I'll be going now. I do know you, the man said. You're Evelyn's Eaton's son, aren't you? I stiffened at her name. It's been years since I heard it because my father won't speak it, won't even acknowledge it if he hears it. To be connected to her again, even just in facial resemblance, feels strange, like putting on an old piece of clothing that doesn't quite fit anymore. How did you know her? He must have known her without seeing her in my face, which is paler than hers, the eye blue instead of dark brown. Most people didn't look closely enough to see all the things we had in common. Our long fingers, our hooked noses, our straightforward brown eyebrows. He hesitated a little. She volunteered with the abnegation sometimes, handing out food and blanket and clothes. Had a memorable face. Plus, she was married to a council leader. Didn't anybody know her? Sometimes I know people aren't lying, but just because of the way the words feel when they press into me, uncomfortable and wrong. The way an erudite feels when she reads a grammatically incorrect sentence. However, he knew my mother, and not because she handed him the can of soup once, but I'm so thirsty to hear more about her that I don't press the issue. She died, did you know? I say, years ago. No, I didn't know. His mouth slammed a little out of one corner. I'm sorry to hear that. I feel strange standing in the dank place that smells like live body and smoke among these empty cans left for just for poverty and the failure to fit in. But there's something appealing about it here too, a freedom, a refusal to belong to these arbitrary categories we've made for ourselves. So